Well, my name is Ozohu Ado. My background is in, shall I say, in career-wise, oil and gas.
Okay.
I worked there for quite a number of years, and I left that to basically set this up. And basically, I happened to get into this industry by accident.
And why did you want to go into skincare?
So I had been suffering from skin issues, and for a very long time. So I tried so many things. I tried all the, shall I say, top end products in the market and some medical grade products. When that didn't work for me, this was just interacting with my GP. So eventually I was sent to see the dermatologist. They did a broad spectrum of allergy testing. But for some reason, they still couldn't find what the problem was.
What were the symptoms that you were trying to solve?
Well, it was real excessive dryness that sort of flared up like some allergic reaction.
Okay.
But they weren't quite sure, because that was why they did testing, the broad spectrum allergy testing. They weren't quite sure what it was, and they still couldn't find what it was. And of course, I had hyperpigmentation because I was having, because it was sporadic. It wasn't like continuously dry. So
Okay.
I'll just have flare-ups. It will recede. It will come again, and of course, it had so much impact on the state of my skin.
Okay.
So eventually, I then said, you know what? I'm just going to step back and, because I didn't know why I was reacting to, so I'm going to step back and see, just try stuff by myself, because I know what's going into it. And shall I say, through the process of elimination, eventually I will be able to sort of figure out what exactly the problem
Were you actually mixing creams and things yourself at this point?
Yeah, and mixing pure ingredients. So this was basically mixing butters and oils by myself, and essential oils at home. And again, it was simply for myself.
Okay.
It wasn't for anybody else.
Sure.
And so it was. So I was just in that. So I was working in the oil and gas industry. I was doing quite well there. So it was like, okay, that's probably where I'll retire. And then the next thing was a friend who was sort of passing by saw me and she said, "Hang on, your skin looks different. What are you using?" So I said, "Oh, I'm just mixing stuff at home." And she says, "Oh, can I have some?" I said, "Why not?" So I gave it to her. A few weeks later, kind of like 6 weeks, she calls me and she said, "You know that stuff you gave me?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "It's really good." I said, "Okay."
Fantastic.
And I she's like, "Guess what? My friends are asking me what am I using now?" And I can't tell them what it is because I put it in this nondescript jar, and it doesn't have a name. And she's like, "Have you thought about commercializing it? Because perhaps, since they're asking for it, they'll be willing to buy it." So I was like, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't really know, but let me research it. So I started doing the research on it. And I had some friends who at the time were strategy consultants, and they helped me to research the industry. And we started to understand the market a little better. But then we then said, hang on a minute. Why is that all the stuff I was using, why weren't they really working for me? And then we found out that the reason they weren't working for me was that they weren't catering to the sort of issues that I was facing.
Okay.
And the particular issue we're facing is the fact that many of the products in the market are products that cater to, shall I say, greasier skin.
Okay.
And if you take the cleansers, for example, what they tend to do is they strip a lot of natural oils from the skin in the process of washing and in the process of cleansing. And what you do not want for people like myself that have underlying dryness is that when you take too much of our natural oils, you then have your skin compensating for it. Shall I say overcompensating for it?
Sure.
And then you now begin to have sebum production. And when you have that, you have very oily skin. However, underneath it, you have very
dry,
dehydrated skin. So
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
You should say that. So your product, your range is targeted specifically, I'd say, for women of color.
Yes.
Because a lot of the things you're describing really is I recognise that. And in terms of the stripping of the oils and all of that, so it is targeted at women of color. Yeah?
Correct. Yes.
Fantastic.
Correct. Because for some reason, we do tend to have dry skin.
We do.
And so therefore you need to produce, shall I say, you need to make products that takes, it takes cognizance of the nuances, you know, with our skin. You know, you can't just basically put anything out there. You know, you have to be very careful. So the second thing that women of color tend to suffer from is hyperpigmentation.
Okay.
Now, what's the problem with hyperpigmentation? Shall I say, in lay parlance, it's really about the overstimulation of melanin. That's what it is.
Okay.
Now, what tends to happen is if you have, for example, an acne scar, it just takes forever to fade.
Yeah.
You know why? Because you've overstimulated melanin. So there are three things that sort of, there are more than three things, but three key things that lead to hyperpigmentation. One is of stress or trauma to the skin. So, e.g., when you scratch your acne, so that one of them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The second thing, most of the time, is hormones. So as you get older, you know, you start to have, you know, hormonal changes, and then it appears on your face. And then the other thing is just sort of like, you know, the environment, so like the sun, free radicals attacking the skin and stuff like that. So those are the exposure. So those are the key sort of factors that cause hyperpigmentation. So what we thought about was, okay, let's create a brand that will cater to these key issues that women of color face. So it's taken a lot of thinking about, because we started doing this kind of 2014, and we've only launched it in 2017.
And what's the science? I mean, your background is oil and gas.
Yeah.
So how did you develop this product to where it is today?
So basically, I was just doing one thing at home. So when I started to research the market, of course I got in touch with a lab here in the UK.
Sure.
So together with a biochemist, partnered with me. I said, okay, here is my original formulation. I want to develop a range from this, and the brief is it needs to be as clean as possible, because we want to strip out all the synthetics and all the nasty stuff that are present in many brands these days. And but we want it to be efficacious, and we want it to target all these problems that I have just listed now. So it took a lot of iterations and a lot of working, but eventually we got to where we wanted to get to.
Sure.
And what we have eventually is a range of products that have across the entire range. So from the very step, which is for many people cleansing, all the way to, shall I say, when you go to bed and you use the night balm or the balancing oil. Has a key ingredient. It's a microalgae called plankton. And what it does, it works very intelligently to target just the cells where overstimulation of melanin has occurred. So it's not going to work on areas that you don't have any problems with. So what tends to happen, at least in the industry prior to now, was when people start talking about hyperpigmentation, you get very worried, because there's this, of course, shall I call it, insidious trend where people want to lighten their skin.
Absolutely.
And what we do not want is, you want to have the best skin. You don't need to alter your skin tone to have the best skin, and that's the point we're making. So we know that we do have problems where you do have, this pigmentation issues, but let's just treat those areas. We don't need to lighten the entire skin. So what this microalgae does is that it just targets those cells where you have those problems.
That's really smart.
Yeah. So it's really it was really neat, having that solution. And so then the other thing it does, of course, is really very gentle action with the cleansers, with all the products, because what you want to do is to make sure that you're not getting the skin out of sync in terms of the pH balance, and therefore the stripping of the oil. So you want to make sure you break that cycle of dryness. So by starting with the cleansers as you go along, you're already doing that. So if you've got very dry skin, what you're going to find is that if you start using the products, you're going to find that over time you overcome that dryness, the issue of dryness, and then also you reduce the sebum generation, because you're not overcompensating anymore for the stripping of oils that you have had with the rather harsh cleansers.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I want to ask you now, how did you come up with the name?
Yeah, well, So Epara means to wrap. The literal translation is to wrap around,
Okay.
which my sort of my editors sort of loosely summarized to cocoon. So it means to cocoon, and the point was like to cocoon yourself in luxury. That was the point we were trying to make with it. And
where's it from?
It's a Nigerian dialect. So it's interesting because it means to cocoon in one of Nigerian dialect. It also means different things in other dialects. Even in Turkish.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I googled it and it meant something in Turkey. But anyway, but it's interesting. But it's easy to pronounce, and it's evocative of Africanness, and it was what we wanted to project with the brand, because quite a number of our ingredients do come out of Africa. So we wanted to make sure that
name check some of them. Some of the ingredients?
Absolutely. So we've got moringa coming out of Kenya, for example. We've got marula from South Africa. We've got argan from Morocco. We've got frankincense. Yeah, frankincense from sandalwood
from the Bible.
What's it called? Sandalwood from Tanzania,
okay.
And stuff like that. We've got shea butter from Ghana and stuff like that. So we've got stuff from all over Africa coming into this stuff. So so we wanted to say, guess what? Africa is, African botanics is very, very rich. We need to sort of, take advantage of that and really offer that to the broader market. So that was the point we were trying to make with it. So
that's great. And where can people buy the products?
Well, right now it is available in Harrods, in the Harrods Apothecary, which is some ground floor Harrods, just kind of by the the perfume, the perfumery hall. So
that's quite a coup. How did you manage to get into Harrods? Tell us about that.
Well, I should say again, just like the way I happened to get into skincare, it was very serendipitous. But somebody who heard the story, believed in it, got me an entry into Harrods. And when I presented to Harrods, they liked the value proposition, and they liked the way we had presented the brand. They worked with us and said, you needed to expand. At the time we had only 3 products, and they said you needed to expand the range, which we did. And we also needed to do user trials, and they came out really well. And that was the reason why they said, okay, yeah, I'll give you a try. So that's how I got into Harrods.
Where else are you? Where else can people purchase?
So I have an exclusivity period with Harrods, which will end this summer. But it's also available on eparaskincare.com. So you can get it there directly, and I think it will be available on Harrods.com in the next few weeks as well. And subsequent to that, we are thinking of other places that will be retailing it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.